Ever imagine yourself in a fencing match? The clash of blades, that lightning-fast footwork. It looks almost like a dance, doesn't it?
It really does.
But what if I told you there's a method out there, and this method could unlock a whole new level of mastery? And not just in fencing, in any area of life, really, that demands focus, demands strategy.
Okay, I'm hooked already.
So that's what we're diving into today with the Fantastic Four method. This was developed by French fencing master Clément Schrepfer.
Okay.
We've got his interview here. It's with veteran fencer Thomas Ferrier.
Great interview.
And let me tell you, this guy Schrepfer, he doesn't mess around. He was ranked in the top 10 fencers globally, and he credits his success to this unique approach.
And what's fascinating here is that it's not just about physical skill. Schrepfer argues that these four elements, the Fantastic Four, they're even more crucial than pure technique.
Okay, I have to admit, when I first heard about this Fantastic Four business, I was a little skeptical.
Yeah.
But then I saw what these elements were: fixed target, distance, patience, and intentions.
Yeah.
And now I'm completely intrigued.
Right.
Because, I mean, patience in fencing.
Yeah.
It seems almost counterintuitive, right, in such a fast-paced sport.
It does. You'd think it would be all about speed and reflexes.
Right.
But Schrepfer's take on patience is really about choosing the right moment to act,
I see.
not just reacting,
Okay.
not just reacting to your opponent.
So it's more about strategic observation, waiting for that perfect opening.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He compares it to a game of cat and mouse. Sometimes the patient fencer is the one in control, dictating the pace, waiting for that perfect moment to strike.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So how does this patience actually play out? Like on the piste, that's the designated area where a fencing bout takes place, by the way.
Right.
How does it play out on the piste?
Well, Schrepfer breaks down distance into these fascinating zones, and these zones help illustrate this point.
Okay.
Comfort, danger, learning, and growth.
Learning zone. You've got my attention. Tell me more about these zones.
Okay, so imagine this. The comfort zone, that's where you're safe.
Okay.
You're safe from your opponent's kind of immediate attack.
Makes sense.
The danger zone, this is probably self-explanatory. That's where you're within their reach. But then there's the learning zone. This is interesting. That's where you can test the waters, see how your opponent reacts to your movements without putting yourself at too much risk.
Okay.
And then the growth zone, this is where the magic happens.
Okay.
That's where you need to be to actually score.
So you're using all these zones kind of strategically then.
Exactly.
So by understanding these zones, a fencer can actually control the pace and flow of the match.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It becomes less about reacting and more about calculated risk-taking.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's talk about fixed target for a second.
Okay.
That one seems pretty straightforward to me. You're focusing on your opponent, right? Well, but how does that tie into everything else?
It's actually a little more nuanced than it sounds.
Okay.
Schrepfer emphasizes focusing on a specific point on your opponent,
Oh.
not their general movements.
Okay, so not just like, oh, they're over there.
Right, exactly.
More specific than there.
Much more specific.
Okay.
This helps you avoid getting distracted by their blade or feints. You stay grounded in your intention.
Which leads us nicely to the final element of the Fantastic Four, intentions.
Right.
So how do intentions play into this whole mental game of fencing?
Okay, so Schrepfer differentiates between what he calls making act
Okay.
and making react. Making act is about moving forward with a clear offensive plan.
Okay.
But here's the catch. You're always ready to adapt.
Oh, okay.
Always analyzing, never locked into one single approach.
So it's about being proactive, but also adaptable.
Yes. And making react, on the other hand, is more about drawing out your opponent's reactions, observing their patterns, and then using that information to your advantage.
So it's almost like you're playing chess, not just fencing.
Right.
You're thinking several moves ahead, anticipating your opponent's every counter move.
Exactly.
Like you're constantly probing, learning those patterns, and then, boom, using that knowledge to your advantage.
Exactly.
This is blowing my mind. So this isn't just some, like, theoretical framework, right?
Right.
Schrepfer actually uses this himself, right?
Yes.
Even at the highest levels of competition.
Oh, absolutely. He even tells a story in this interview about a match against, a top-ranked fencer where he was actually losing at the start.
Oh, wow.
You too.
Way, what happened? Don't leave me hanging.
So he says that by constantly analyzing his own actions, right, using this framework of the Fantastic Four, he was able to turn the match around and win.
See, this is what I love about these deep dives, right?
Yeah.
You start with what seems like kind of a niche topic, like, competitive fencing,
Yeah.
and boom, you uncover these incredibly powerful ideas, and these ideas have ripple effects, way beyond that original context.
Right. What's so fascinating to me is how this method, right, is designed for this high-stakes world of fencing, but you can actually apply it to everyday life.
Right.
Schrepfer specifically talks about project management, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally see that. Think about it. Project management, what is it? It's all about setting these clear goals,
Right.
understanding your limitations, being strategic with your time, and knowing exactly what you want to achieve.
And that's exactly Schrepfer's point, right?
Ah.
He's saying that the same principles that make a fencer successful, that focus, that adaptability, that strategic thinking,
Hmm.
you can apply those same principles to managing projects, leading a team,
Right.
even just, navigating those everyday challenges.
Yeah, it's like this whole new framework for thinking about any situation, really,
Exactly.
where we need to be strategic, mentally tough, all of that.
Right.
That's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, and what's even more impressive to me is, like, this isn't just some random theory he came up with,
Right.
This comes from decades of experience, his
Yes.
own competitive career, years of coaching.
Yeah, and you can feel that authenticity in the interview.
Oh, yeah.
He even talks about how he's still learning. He had to adapt his own training after a knee injury, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
He talks about having to step back from competitive fencing for a while.
Right.
But he used that time to kind of explore new avenues for sharing his knowledge,
Yeah.
like his YouTube channel.
Okay.
Fantastic Four Fencing Progress in Fencing on and off the strip, and even working on a second edition of his book.
Hold on, a second edition. Now that's exciting. Did he reveal any sneak peeks in the interview?
He didn't give us everything,
Okay.
but he did mention that the second edition will dive even deeper into those real-life applications of the Fantastic Four, particularly in project management.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm really curious to see what he comes up with. So to wrap things up, where can our listeners go if they want to learn more about Schrepfer and his Fantastic Four method?
Well, I can start by checking out his book. That's How to Fence Épée, the Fantastic Four Method,
Okay,
and that's available on Amazon.
great.
And, of course, there's his YouTube channel, Fantastic Four Fencing Progress and Fencing on and off the strip, where he shares even more insights, practical tips, all of that.
Perfect. It sounds like Schrepfer is really on to something with this whole Fantastic Four thing. What started as a deep dive into the world of competitive fencing has really turned into this fascinating exploration of strategy, mindset, personal growth.
And isn't that the beauty of these deep dives?
I know, right?
You never know where we're going to end up.
It's amazing, isn't it? We started talking about, the technicalities of fencing, and somehow we've ended up in this space of like self-improvement and personal growth.
It's true. And it's funny how these things connect,
Yeah.
You start digging into one thing and it opens up all these other doors.
I know. It's like Schrepfer's cracked the code, right?
Exactly.
Not just on winning a match, but almost on like winning in life.
Right. And the best part is, he's not keeping it a secret. He's finding new ways to share this knowledge and to make it accessible.
Right.
And, speaking of in the interview, he actually mentioned that he was recently contacted by the French Fencing Federation.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
What for?
So it sounds like they're interested in working with him, maybe collaborating on some online course project.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, right?
So they're really taking his methods seriously.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that. Schrepfer's Fantastic Four method, being taught and promoted with the backing of, like, the French Fencing Federation.
Yeah. That's huge. I mean, if anyone can make this kind of intimidating world of fencing, right? If anyone can make that accessible,
Right.
it's him,
Yeah, absolutely. With his insights, their platform,
Right.
who knows what kind of an impact they could have.
Yeah, it's super exciting to think about. I mean, we could see a whole new generation of fencers, and these fencers aren't just skilled with a blade, right?
Right.
But they're approaching the sport, they're approaching life
Right.
with this whole new level of strategy, this awareness.
It's like planting these seeds of knowledge.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
watching them take root and blossom.
I love that analogy.
And the most exciting part is, this is just the beginning, right? Schrepfer talks about how he's already working on new projects, he's exploring even more applications of the Fantastic Four, and he's really pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
It's so inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
To see someone so passionate about sharing their knowledge.
Absolutely.
Now, not even just sharing it, but using it to really help others, to help them unlock their own potential.
Exactly.
So for our listeners who are just as, energized by Schrepfer's insights as we are, where can they go to learn more, to really dive into this Fantastic Four method?
Well, they can start with his book. It's called How to Fence Épée, the Fantastic Four Method.
Hmm.
It's available on Amazon. And he also has a YouTube channel, Fantastic Four Fencing Progress in Fencing on and off the Strip. And he shares a lot of kind of practical tips there, answers questions.
Awesome.
So those are great places to start.
There you have it, from the fence and peace to the far reaches of, well, life, really.
Right.
We've uncovered a treasure trove of wisdom, and it's all thanks to Clément Schrepfer and his Fantastic Four method.
Amazing.
And I think the biggest takeaway here, and I hope our listeners feel this too, is that even if you've never held an épée in your life,
Right.
these principles, this idea of focus, strategy, patience, intention, they can be applied to anything that you set your mind to.
I completely agree. It's a powerful message.
So the next time you're facing a challenge, no matter what it is, remember the Fantastic Four. You might just surprise yourself with what you're capable of achieving. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a good deep dive.
See you next time.